Hey there everyone, this is Joe from Bullion Now with your weekly precious metals technical analysis, taking a look at the big four: gold, silver, platinum and palladium. Of course, bullionnow.com.au, selling you the best bullion bars and coins shipped to you worldwide from Melbourne in Australia, don't you know? And here's our phone number here for Australia-wide, that is for all you Aussies, our email for you Aussies too, plus everyone else in the world, and of course our physical address. Come and visit us in our store. Hit the big red subscribe button right here on YouTube, 321 subscribers right now, and of course follow us, instagram.com/bullion. Now, an interesting week, but a more interesting 24 hours. Why? Because of the Feds. The Federal Reserve, which is neither federal, it's not owned by the government, it's actually privately owned, nor do they have reserves. But that's a whole other thing, which most of you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. But the Feds did decide for the first time in 11 years to lower the interest rate by 25 basis points, meaning 0.25%. That is, so 0.25% down, and that saw a little spike down in the price. So is it short term? Is it long term? Are we going to see lower prices from here? I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. I don't think we're going to see prices all the way back down here. This could just be, I think, because of the meeting, and then we might just have a little bit of a sell-off, and then we might be on our merry way back up. But of course, we'll take a look at the quick targets down and up. I've talked about them a number of times, but I'll quickly go over them. But that's what's happened. We've seen a dip in the price. We were really just knocking on this door right here. I was watching it. This is on the daily time frame. If I pop to the 4-hour yesterday, it was just really knocking on this door right here at this old level of about 1430, and then overnight the decision came out, and we've gone all the way back down to currently currently 1404 and 27 cents. Now, this is based on a particular exchange price, if you want to call it that. We're using the tradingview.com website. Now, just as well, if the audio sounds a little different, sounds a little grainier or a little bit not as good, I don't have my studio mic today, so apologies for the audio quality if it's not as pristine as you're used to having it. But seeing that spike, as I said, 1430 roughly down to 1404, it's a pretty decent drop overnight. That's in gold. So let's pop out maybe back to the weekly, and you can see here that we've sort of just broke through this this ascending triangle pattern right here. But I think it's short term. I personally don't think. I think we are set to still move higher. I guess we could move possibly down to the 18 average of highs right here, and that's on the weekly time frame. And you'd be looking at approximately, I don't see it breaking 1400. That's my personal opinion. Of course, none of this is financial advice. Let's take a look at the monthly, I guess. Yeah, look, there's possible room to move down, I guess. If we were to move down, breaking 1400, you'd be looking at this level here, which is that matching this little dip right here. That's about 1380 roughly. Breaking that, you'd be looking at the 1370 mark, 1375, which is matching this kind of area right here between 1370 1375, and back down, as I've spoken about a number of times, this trend line right there. And that depends when it hit. If it did it this month in August, because we're on the monthly time frame, you'd be looking at a maximum of approximately 1360, 1355, 1360. And if it does come all the way back to the 18 average of highs on the monthly time frame, then you'd be looking at approximately 1335, 1340. Again, I have a feeling this might just be a little blip, just because of the Fed's rate cut. But that remains to be seen. But I'm still bullish on gold in the long term, of course, most definitely. Moving higher from here, well, we definitely want to. Let me pop into the daily. You want to see it break back up above this level right here, and of course break through the next level, be a bit more of a level of resistance here at 1430, and of course right here at the next major resistance level at about 1450. And moving higher from here, of course I've mentioned it a number of times, but you're going to have that psychological value, I think, of 1500, and then moving up from there. Let's get rid of that and get rid of that, and we'll again pop this back onto the weekly. You've got this one right here, which is at about 1530 roughly. It's intersecting with these previous levels of support. So my personal bias is still to the upside. Maybe we could see a quick little bit more of a dip, but I don't think we're heading right down all the way. Of course, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll admit to that. And again, that's just my personal opinion. And hey, if you're looking to buy, then good news for you if it does head down further. So that's in gold. In silver, very similar thing. Let's pop into silver, SILVR right there. And yeah, okay, you can see we have broken a little bit of a key level right here. We've broken through this level here at $16.20. I had been calling for, and I still think we could hit it, still have been calling for a high of approximately $17 to $17.20, but after this FOMC meeting, I have had that similar dip in the price. Topped out at approximately 16.16, and we're now down to about 16.11. So we haven't broken 16 yet. If we do break 16, you'd be looking at approximately here about $15.80, breaking down at least on the daily time frame the 18 average of highs, and you're looking at this top blue line right here. That's approximately $15.60. I don't see it going much lower than that, because I do think maybe we would come down to this old high, maybe 15.55, maybe somewhere between 15.50 to 15.60 would be the lowest point, in my opinion, of course, before we see higher prices to come. Again, my own personal opinion, and you should not do anything and not do anything that I would do myself. Don't take any financial advice from me. So that's in silver, moving higher. As I said, that $17.20 level, and we've talked about in the last few weeks these next key levels. And I was talking about this one here about 1860, and of course that big one at about $21. But they're on the horizon, but not just yet. So let's see what happens in the metals. If we break much further down through here, if we break down through that 1611 mark, we'd be testing 16, and we'd be on our way definitely down to say 1580 at least. So that's in silver. Let's take a look at XPT. Now actually what we'll do, we'll take a look at the gold to silver ratio. Once we do gold and once we do silver, we'll take a look on there. And what I might even do as well is, I'll do this just for a sec right here, that high of 93 down to the low of 85.60, and we've just seen a slight riser at about 87.1 right there. So that's the gold to silver ratio. I'm going to quickly just touch upon gold and silver in Australian dollars, because I did that last week, and I'll just do it very quickly right now. As you can see, not as much of a dip. What we had a $20.80, and we're down to $20.60. So that's about the same, roughly a $20 move in Australian dollars, that is. But for us, as you can see, we're definitely still in all-time high territory in terms of Australian dollars. We have some room to move down. We could move down back to, even all the way back down to the 18 average of highs on the monthly, and that'd be a huge dip. And obviously the US dollar would have to do the same, or the difference, the exchange rate between USD to AUD would have to, go wrong, and then gold would go down in Australian dollars. But you're looking, 18 average of highs, as I said, about 1890 roughly. That's in gold, and XAG in AUD, that's silver. Yeah, about the same. Look at that roughly there. We could come down to the 18 average of highs. 18 average, that is, at about $22.25 roughly. Could be the low point, or maybe even right here at this previous level of resistance, it could become support at approximately $22.70. So that's in Australian dollars. Let's go back to the US dollar, and we'll have a quick look at XPT. Good old platinum. Now this is an interesting one. I'd said last week, I nailed this one right on the money, and I'll show you on the daily time frame. I didn't count back on the last ones, but I'll just count back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right here, see this green candle right here? We'd come up to test this level, which I'd put in a while ago. That was about 875 USD. And I was suggesting, if you go back and watch the video from last week, I was suggesting This area right here could be a level of decent resistance. And what do you know? I love technical analysis. What do you know? It was right nearly bang on the money. We just saw a touch just nearly to the top end, this trend line right here, and we saw a dip all the way back down. So that was definitely a level of resistance, definitely called that one. We came back down to 860, back up, and it looks like we were going to punch through, but then the Feds cut the rates, and so platinum's had a bit of a dip as well. Currently back down to 860. So if it does have a dip, we could head back down to possibly, let's take a look on the weekly time frame. We could come back down, well, definitely to this level could be the next one right here at that level I've mentioned before at approximately $845. Breaking down from there, you've got the 833, and look, maybe even possibly the 18 average of lows, 821, and then you've got, of course, this big range right here, this symmetrical triangle pattern, and it would just depend on when it hit. If it did it within the next 2 months, a month and a half, you'd be looking at around about 807. But as I think with gold, silver, and with platinum and palladium as well, just jumping the gun there on palladium, but I do think the bias is to the upside, and I do think this Fed decision is a small distraction. But you never know. Look, sellers could take advantage of it just purely based on the technicals, and they could still sell this down further. So just do take that into account. That is platinum. I won't mention the up targets, etc. I've done that a number of times before. You can watch my previous video for that. And XPD finally, and we're looking at palladium's had that nice little run. Similar thing. Let me pop down into the daily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we had come up from this low of about 1500. We were ranging at about 1540, and since then on the daily time frame came back up to 1560, and then actually on palladium hasn't had that much of a dip. We had 3 days ago, 2.5 to 3 days ago is where we had the dip from 1560 back down to 1508, but we haven't seen the same dip. Look at that, interesting. Haven't seen the same dip on the daily time frame because of the Fed decision. So that's interesting in palladium not going with the trend, or it's bucking the trend at this stage. So if we are to move higher, let's take a look. Yeah, let's take a look at the monthly. If we are moving higher, I do think, as I said, we might see a little bit more resistance here at the previous old high of 1615. I think the next psychological value, as I've mentioned, is 2000, because we haven't hit that before. And then moving up from there, that's blue sky thinking later on down the track, but the Fibonacci level of about 2650, that's in US dollars, of course. Breaking down further, 18 average of highs on the monthly time frame again would be in play at about $1,400. The 18 average of lows would be in play at about 1250. And back down from there, you know, I've been talking about it the whole time. I've been talking about it, which is at some point, most of the time, after breaking through an all-time high, it tends to, not always, but a lot of the time it does revisit it before going even higher. Now, as you can see, we technically haven't had a retest of this all-time high right here at 1150, previous all-time high. We came back down to, what, 841. We've just had this bull run all the way up to 1615, and we have yet to touch back here. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. If everything else goes sour with the other precious metals, I guess you could possibly see it come back to 1150. Doesn't always revisit a previous all-time high though, but something to keep in mind. So that's it, gold, silver, platinum, and palladium for this week. My bias is to the upside in the next few weeks coming, but you know, it could be a little bit more of selling pressure in the next few days coming into the into the close over the weekend. That is it, of course. You know what to do. Bookmark the website, hit the big red subscribe button right here, join the family. That is it, gang. Stay safe, and we'll speak to you soon.